Guys, how you doing? I did a poll on the YouTube channel, which is always handy. Good creation YouTube have done. I appreciate you guys putting your votes in, and 44% of you said you'd like me to do a video on loneliness. I gave people several different topics: rejection, I think, anxiety, depression, success, loneliness. Loneliness outverted all the other ones, so I thought I'd talk about loneliness today, share some tips, give some different perspectives on loneliness. I would love to also know what you guys think about it and add some tips. I've got to be honest, maybe it's not the best time for me to do a video like this because I'm not particularly feeling lonely myself at the moment. I'm feeling good and relaxed, and I am enjoying my own company. Let's see how this video goes, and if it goes well, people like it, I'll do another one. I'm going to share different things. So obviously a lot of you are going through loneliness. I was thinking on the way, I'm in Regent's Park, keeping my social distance as well, by the way, just in case people are going to start having a go at me. I'm surprised actually how many, there's more people in the park than there are actually on all the streets everywhere else, but I suppose at least people are keeping their distance, respecting, not spreading this thing. Anyway, so loneliness, let's start off. Well, I personally think there's two types of loneliness. I think there's a good loneliness, and I think there's a bad loneliness. And I think a bad loneliness is, the obvious loneliness is when someone doesn't have any friends, they're going through some mental health problems, they're anxious, they're depressed, obviously, and they're feeling sad and feeling lonely because they haven't got anyone to talk to, they haven't got anyone to share their feelings, their thoughts, everything's bottled up. Loneliness also as well creates boredom. There's obviously a link between them too, because when you get lonely you get bored, and I find when you get bored you get lonely. Now I think the real suffering in loneliness is when you're lonely, you haven't got your mind occupied on something that you enjoy doing, so all of your issues, all of your negative thoughts come to the forefront, and that's really what creates the suffering that people don't like. And then people will naturally start comparing themselves to other people who they perceive who are not lonely, when in truth everyone is lonely to a certain extent. It's just a question of where people are at with their loneliness. Are they feeling good? Are they managing it well? Have they got friends, family, etc.? So I think, like I said, the worst part of loneliness is when you're on your own and you're dealing with all of your mental health issues, all of your stresses about life. You're worrying about money, you're worrying about being good enough, you're worried about your future, you're worried about the problems that you're dealing with currently right now. So that type of. So yeah, there was some tips on loneliness, so I give you some more tips. One of the things that comes to mind as to why a lot of people feel lonely, I believe, is because they don't face their fears in their life. They don't take action, right? Because they're frightened. And it's a funny thing to say, but I've learnt this myself. When you don't face your fears, it's like you get overwhelmed, they get trapped in you, they get to suppress your emotions. So that's going to make a lot of people feel lonely, because obviously if you're very fearful about things, fear creates restrictions and boundaries, mostly that we put on ourselves. So if you don't face these fears and confront them, you're not going to gain confidence as a person, you're not going to grow, and not much is going to change. You're not going to have that feeling of feeling more complete, more satisfied, more free, more socially free, and so forth. So that's a really powerful tip I want to share. If any of you or anyone who's come to this video is going through chronic loneliness at the moment, I would get an action plan, which is what I use myself, and I've gave clients in the past, and I give it to people free over YouTube, where you get a pad of paper and you write down on paper exactly what your fears are, and then you set about gradually doing what I call exposure therapy, where you face each fear. So I don't know what your fears are, but I can promise you, if you confront your fears ASAP, your loneliness is definitely going to reduce, right? So that's one tip. Let's go to the next. Okay, so next tip, right? This is just kind of like obvious questions, right? But usually obvious stuff is the most effective, I find. The stuff that's very obvious but a lot of people don't practice because of fear. So I think what I'm learning today with making this video is a lot of loneliness that people go through comes from them not confronting their own fears. But there is another thing obviously to consider. if you're not socializing, and I know at the moment obviously we're socially restricted, right? But in general, before the coronavirus happened and all this social distancing, if you're not socializing enough in your life, right, because of social anxiety or fears of trusting people or opening up, or because of your shyness, then of course you're going to feel lonely because you've got no one to relate to. Common sense. That's one of the reasons why we're here. We're not just here, I'm sure. I don't think we're here just to make money and get followers on YouTube and Instagram and just to be on Facebook all the time. That's going to be a pretty sad, empty, meaningless life. Certainly for people like yourself and me who are a lot more genuine, and there's nothing wrong with money and getting followers, but if that's the only thing that your life's about, it's going to be pretty empty, because as we know, a lot of the activity on social media and a lot of the conversations, they're not exactly heartfelt, are they? No, not exactly fully. I'm not saying all of them, because obviously this one is my stuff I put out, but I think I'm different, and I think a lot of my followers are different, unique in that sense, right? Not saying that we're better than anyone, I don't believe that, but I'm not beneath anyone, neither are you. So it's really something to consider, because if you are purposely sabotaging your social relationships because of social anxiety and fear, and then you're complaining about your loneliness, that's when I'd say, come on, toughen up, don't be a coward, take action, get to a social event, make new friends. And I know a lot of people say, right, I don't make friends easy, that's the reason why I'm lonely, or I don't fit in, or I don't get along with everyone, or I'm scared that people won't like me. Find a community then, like you've done with my YouTube channel. This is a community. Find a community of people that are interested in the same things you're interested in, hobbies, and it'll be so much more easier to talk to them and relate to them and make friends with them. And one good friendship can be a lifesaver. It can take away the majority of your loneliness. So that's a tip on anyone who's not following that. If you guys can hear the birds tweeting, it's pretty nice. I'm in Regent's Park's nice here. Nice to get some fresh air. So one of the things I realise, another tip, is small talk. If you're a person who's just doing a lot of small talk in your social interactions, or the friends that you've got around, or the people that you are around, that's really all you're doing, then you're going to be lonely, because a lot of loneliness psychologically, emotionally, comes from a lack of intimacy. Now, small talk's not intimate. Obviously there's times when we have to do it, but real friendship is about being able to be free socially, with each other, not feel restricted and worry about what the other person is thinking or the people that you're around. So you really want to have a look at that in your life and see if you're participating in a lot of small talking people around you, and think about how you can change that. You make this adjustment, because this is what a lot of getting over loneliness is. It's making subtle adjustments that make a huge difference, right? A lot of the time it's just the things people don't do that make them lonely. So conversations like the conversation I'm having now, it's far from small talk, right? And it feels good to get this out, and a lot of people are scared to go beyond small talk, because when we go beyond small talk, we are vulnerable in the sense that we show our emotions and our real feelings, what we're really feeling. Whereas when we do small talk, it's usually, I'm not saying every time, but it's hidden behind a persona, behind a mask, right? And you almost can talk to people, it feels like being a jacket potato with no feelings, and you can't do that long term. There's catastrophic effects: depression, mental illness, loneliness. You don't feel connected. So very, very important that the quality of your conversations are a lot more honest and open and fun and interesting and insightful, and you can really connect, because that's what it is. Loneliness is when people feel disconnected from themselves and other people in society, in a community. So it's like always asking yourself, I do this on a daily basis, right? I always ask myself, well, without sounding cheesy, going too deep, even though I've gone very deep I went through a stage in my life where went very sort of deep into life, questioning things, which is totally fine. I'm not there now. I'm more balanced about life, but you might be going through the same. Totally fine. I've done a lot of videos on loneliness at that time that are very popular. That's another thing as well. It's realizing that everyone's in different places. So you might be around a group of people that they're going through a different stage in their life, or they're not interested in exploring their fears and insecurities. So you want to get around people that are in a similar place to you are, so then you can feel more connected. So a lot of what I'm teaching today and advising people on is really adjusting and improving their social relationships and their social interactions, right? So we've covered that. Another great tip for loneliness, what I've found is actually making your day like an adventure. Because a lot of people, they feel lonely because they get stuck in a routine and they do the same thing every day. They go to the same restaurant, they go to work, they go on public transport, they come home. Sometimes you've got to just subtly break your daily habits and routine to create a bit of excitement, just to break those emotions of loneliness. Small things, a lot of things I'm asking you guys to do, and girls, whoever's watching this video, are just small, subtle changes. So for example, if you walk a certain way to the gym, change your route. I do this all the time. If you go to a certain restaurant and you eat, for example, Chinese food, then try a different restaurant, eat Indian food, or eat British food or Italian food. Changing things up creates change, excitement. So loneliness can come from Groundhog Day, that film. Every day you're doing the same thing, and the mind can start kicking in and just going nuts, because there's no freshness, there's no newness. So every once in a while we have to change things up. We need to make changes in our daily habits and life, and this is something, all these things I'm sharing with you, I'm sure you can tell I'm a real practitioner. I'm just not a theorist. I practice everything that I preach and share and teach people, and like a scientist, see what kind of results. I've got good results for this. So that's important. And finding your hobby and your passion. I say this in pretty much my videos because it's true for pretty much every problem. If you haven't got a goal in life, or you haven't got a passion, then you are going to be lonely. You are going to feel like you haven't got much meaning in your life, and what's the point of life, and you're going to question yourself and your life, right? But having said that, another perspective, it isn't entirely bad to question your life and to sometimes complain, because that's what can create positive changes. So I've found that to be very helpful, right? Try all these tips, see how they work for you. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, man, it'd be great if you guys could subscribe, like, let me know in the box below what you think. Last tip I'm going to give you, which is my favourite, this is what I've done, right? Now, it's up to you, you decide what works for you. I personally think there shouldn't be a day that goes by where you say, I don't have anything to do. I used to be like this, believe me. So a lot of my videos will always challenge people, because I'm not always going to tell you what you want to hear, what makes you comfortable. But I usually always tell you what's going to be for your own benefit in the long run. So you must learn to be more organised and take responsibility, and not to just say, I'm a victim, I'm lonely, it's everyone else's fault. Because it's not everyone else's fault, it's your responsibility. We've all got a certain part to play in if we want to make the world less lonely and more happy and all the rest of it. I agree, but the individual has to take responsibility, because if the individual doesn't take responsibility for being lonely and unhappy, then it's always someone else's fault. That's just going to create more problems. So this has all been about solution based. Sorry to say it, I've seen a lot of videos online where people are sulking in videos and complaining, and it's like, poor me, please everyone feel sorry for me. You're not going to get that from me. Life's too short. I'm grateful. Of course we're compassionate on this channel. If someone is generally struggling and it's out of their control, then they're entitled to get help. But if you have got the strength to help yourself, right, I will say, then never be a victim, because there's always things to be grateful for. So gratitude will take your loneliness down. Right, every single day, the day before the next day, you should have an action plan of things you're going to do. So I've always got things to do, whether it's a shopping list. Okay, so tomorrow, for example, I have to go and do shopping. I have to get toiletries or food, I have to get some clothes, or I have to buy certain things for the house or the home. That gives you something to do. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock I've got the gym, I'm going to work out for an hour and do some strength training or jiu-jitsu or boxing, whatever you do, running, doesn't matter, right? Whatever does it for you, swimming, and then after swimming I'm going to work on my writing or my homework or school or business. If you really want to, there's always things to do in a day. And listen, if you're that lonely and bored, right, and you've got nothing to do, well then go and do a charity, go and help people. That's one of the best things, right, I've learned with helping others. A lot of loneliness sometimes, guys, I'm being honest, it can come from selfishness. We're only thinking about ourselves. If you can help other people in any way that you can, and there's always many ways to help people, right? Hence what I'm doing today. This is my passion anyway, right? It might not be your passion to help people, but sometimes it's good to do things even when your emotions are telling you I don't want to do it. You'll feel good after, right? If you help others and they're happy, then you won't feel as lonely. So there's some sort of tough love, a balance of, like I said, two approaches in this video. So if you've got like a schedule every day, okay, you might be a bit lonely. We all get lonely from time to time, but you're not going to be chronically lonely. You're going to be too busy. So a lot of loneliness comes down because people are not busy enough in their life. And I'm speaking from my own experience when I went through a stage of feeling sorry for myself, right? So let's make sure we got all these things in place in this video. Let's just go over and do like an overview of the video. So we want to check that, we've got some social relationships going on, right? We want to check that the quality of our conversations and the dialogues that we're having, that we're not just doing small talk to people, we're being more open and honest, right? And we get around the like-minded people. We want to make sure that we've got a gym membership, that we're working out regularly. We want to make sure that we're contributing something to society. We're helping people in any way that we can. You have to help everyone, but you can help one person, to your family. It's always good once in a while to help a homeless person or someone who's in need, or just to help a friend, in any way that you can. And like I said, having a hobby, having a goal in life, pursuing that, and having an action plan. Every day I plan this video today. Last night I done a poll on YouTube. Do you know what my plan was today? First thing was to clean the apartment, which I did. Second thing was to have a shower, which I did. Third one was to pay bills, which I did. The next one was to go out and do some food shopping, which I've done. The next one was to do a home workout, which I've done. And it was to make this video. And then I'll spend the rest of the evening editing this video, going online, answering questions. And in the evening, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to watch some Breaking Bad. So my whole day is filled with activities. And there's probably a few more things I'll do. So make your day filled with activities in your life. And I promise you, your loneliness will definitely decrease. Final one is, if you haven't got a relationship, if you're single right now, do everything you can to go out and find someone. Online dating, go to an event, or go out in public. Obviously you can't do that right now, but when this coronavirus clears up, that's something we can do in the future, right? We're all keeping our fingers crossed that things will get back to normal, which I think they will, and you can start finding the right person, a girlfriend or a wife, or so forth. That's just killing my arm, good challenge. So I love doing the videos here. I appreciate your questions as always, they're brilliant. I love all the support. I appreciate the criticism as well, that's handy. So let me know in the box below what you think. If this video really helped you, share it on social media, share it everywhere. It will help a lot of people. There's a lot of loneliness at the moment going on, right? I did the best I could. Let me know if you can. I'm sure you guys can add things to the list, things that we can all learn from each other, all right? And I hope to see you soon at one of my Fearless events, and we can actually have a great conversation in person. No small talk with Johnny Berba. And remember, until then, become fearless. I'll see you soon, right? Thanks.